We celebrate the feast day of St. James, one of the more prominent apostles in the listing. It always goes Peter, James, and John. James the Greater, the first of the apostles to be martyred very early on in the year 44 under Herod Agrippa. And we see in James that the church flourished even amidst persecution, that the church flourished even as members were being sent to prison and dying. That first reading from St. Paul captures that thought. We are earthen vessels, flawed, some would even say cracked, if they're speaking about me. But that earthen vessels, that understanding that in our flaws, in our weaknesses, God's power reaches perfection. I'm always amazed at an Asian custom with pottery or any type of china, that if it's broken, they don't throw it out. They fill it in with little gold. They fill it in with precious metals to show that it has a standing. We too are like that God sees our weaknesses, God knows of our weaknesses, and then God strengthens us. Way back when I was studying, one of the professors had a year-long question for all of us. For the first 5 minutes of the class, the question was, what's the difference between humanity and angels? In every class, everyone would take a turn at trying to answer that. And the professor would shoot us down, saying, no. So the whole end of the semester comes, and we were finally saying, what's the right answer? And he said very simply, humanity can be forgiven. Humanity can be forgiven. We, in our state, God knows that we're imperfect, earthen vessels, and God gives us the means for redemption in Jesus. That's Jesus' whole purpose of coming into the world, that we would have salvation through his cross. And so this day, as we celebrate one of the early apostles, one of the earliest to give his life for the faith, and in Spain, big celebration today at the Church of St. James at the end of the Camino walk. Big celebration for all the people who made the pilgrimage and walked many, many miles to get to the Cathedral of St. James. And in it, this huge thurible swings throughout the whole cathedral. It's the largest incense burner I've ever seen. And it fills the church with incense. And we see on this feast day of St. James that death is not an end. And so all of us, we have a mission this day. We might not be able to give our lives in faith, but we can give our lives in service. In service, maybe in prayer. In service of reaching out to other people, maybe as simple as a phone call. How are you? How are you doing? Maybe it's as simple as offering a special rosary or our prayer book for the intentions of the Holy Father for this month of July. It's for the elderly. And slowly, when we start to make our prayers for others, we become a servant of prayer. We become a servant of God's will in the world. We might not be able to do great things, but the small, simple, and ordinary, God can flourish. Look at the apostles. There was no group more simple and ordinary than the apostles. And God was able to channel them and strengthen them with the gifts and the fruits of the Holy Spirit to become preachers, to become travelers, to go to foreign lands, to proclaim the good news. We, in our simple lives, can also do great things in the simple, the ordinary, and the everyday, recognizing that indeed we are earthen vessels, slightly cracked, but it's Jesus' blood that fills in the cracks, not gold, but Jesus' blood that fills in our cracks, that makes us whole, to make us spiritual warriors, prayers for others. This day, as we celebrate the feast of St. James, let us claim our earthen vessels. Let us claim our weaknesses in recognizing that God's power shines through in our human weakness, thanks to the blood of Christ.